I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since city's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. Cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road and overdrive, baby. Hit the road and overdrive. The city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone. But when I ever let you go this time, I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch.
Awesome. I mean, we knew we had an opportunity to do something special tonight, on national television. Probably our last primetime game. Hope America liked what they saw.
What do you think you showed them?
Hey, that we a heck of a team. Come on. I'm just trying to be a better version of what I was yesterday. All that stuff's cool, and I definitely used it a little bit, but I'm just trying to be, the best version I can of myself. And these guys on this team have helped me become that each and every day. So.
Feel free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Tone Talk Podcast Friday edition. It's been an eventful week here because we had a bonus episode on Tuesday in addition to the regular Monday episode, and now we're back for the Friday episode, a triple header of Two Tone Talk this week. What an exciting night it was the other night on Monday night with the unbelievable, the improbable, the unforeseen Titans comeback in the final minutes of the game to beat the Miami Dolphins. To beat the Miami Dolphins 28-27 and keep their very slim playoff hopes alive. The Titans at least have a pulse as of right now. And so today we're going to talk about the game this Sunday between the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. We're going to talk about what the Titans need to happen in order for the unthinkable to happen and for the Titans to actually make the playoffs. Playoffs? You talking about the playoffs? Just trying to win a game. You want to talk about playoffs? Yeah, we're going to talk about the playoffs today and how the Titans can get there. So, the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans are going to play this Sunday. And the Texans have been better than people thought they would be. They're 7-6. They appear to have a guy in C.J. Stroud that is going to be their quarterback for many years to come. And a lot of young talent on that team. With that being said, honestly, as I look at this game Sunday, this is a game that the Tennessee Titans should win. All things considered, the Titans should beat the Texans on Sunday. Should have a lot of momentum coming off of what happened Monday night. The Titans should have some momentum. They're playing at home. Titans have usually played better at home than on the road this year, yeah. They're going to be in the Houston Oilers throwbacks. I mean, come on. That's got to do something to your psyche. And most importantly, the Houston Texans are coming into this thing banged up. C.J. Stroud is not going to play. He's got a concussion. He's not going to play. That's huge. Nico Collins, one of their main weapons on that team, is not going to play. Will Anderson Jr., who they traded up to get in the draft this year in the first round, appears he's not going to play. Tavier Thomas, Blake Cashman, George Fant, all not playing, and not to mention Tank Dell, who we already know is not playing because he's been hurt. So the Texans, not only do they have a lot of guys out, they have a lot of key guys out. All of these guys that I just named, for the most part, these guys are the reason that the Texans have had the kind of season that they've had. And I think you will still see these guys in a couple of weeks when the Titans play the Texans again in Houston. You'll see some of these guys back. But for Sunday, for 2 days from now, you're not going to see these guys in Nashville in the Houston Oilers throwbacks with the momentum that you should have from beating Miami the other night. The Titans should win this football game. They really should. Davis Mills is going to be the starting quarterback for Houston on Sunday. Davis Mills is not bad, but you should win this game. You should win this game. But now, don't we know that does not mean that the Titans will win this game, because there have been quite a few games this year that the Titans should have won and didn't. I talked about it the other day, but 3 in particular that I look back on. One is the season opener against the Saints. The Titans should have won that game. They should have won. They lost 16-15. They should have won. The Thursday nighter at Pittsburgh against the sorry Steelers, the Titans should have won that game. They should have won. And last but not least, 2 weeks ago, the overtime loss against the Colts. The Titans should have won that game. Should have won. If they had, God, you could have those games back. The Titans, you're looking at 8-5 instead of 5-8. But all of that to say, the Tennessee Titans have made a habit of losing games that they shouldn't lose this season. Also, something else the Titans have made a habit of is not being able to win 2 games in a row. That's something else we ain't been able to do. Every time the Titans win, let me look here. Week 2, the Titans beat the Chargers. The Chargers are a big topic of discussion today. The Titans beat the Chargers in overtime. They followed it up with a 20-3 loss to the Cleveland Browns. 27-3. 27-3 loss to the Cleveland Browns. Excuse me. The next week, the Titans beat the Bengals 27-3. Everybody's feeling encouraged. They followed it up with a 23-16 loss to the Colts. The Titans beat Atlanta 28-23 in the Oiler throwbacks. They followed it up with an unacceptable loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Titans beat the puny, putrid Carolina Panthers. And they followed it up with a horrible overtime loss to the Colts. And now the Titans have had this miraculous comeback win in Miami. What will they follow it up with? Their track record this season would tell you they are going to follow it up with an awful loss to the Houston Texans on Sunday, in spite of the fact that they should win. They should win this game. Will they? I don't know. But they should. Derrick Henry tends to play well against the Houston Texans. Derrick Henry tends to go off against the Houston Texans, maybe more so than any other team that the Titans play. Derrick Henry has owned the Houston Texans for the last 3 or 4 years. Will Levis, Houston Texans play a lot of zone defense, and with the Titans, let's be honest, with their lack of talent on the outside, not a lot of speed, the Titans tend to do better against zone coverages. The Houston Texans play a lot of zone defense. So theoretically, Will Levis should be able to have a good day. Not to mention DeAndre Hopkins playing against his former team in the Houston Oilers throwbacks kind of feels like he would probably be due a big day again. So we'll see. But I will say this, and I mentioned this on the Two Tone Talk Twitter yesterday. Go follow me over there at @2tone_podcast. It's odd because I don't think the Titans are going to win out. I don't think the Titans are going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to win enough to where they're not in contention for either one of those offensive tackles that everybody wants. They're sure not going to be in contention for Marvin Harrison Jr. They could win their way out of the top 10 in the draft. I mean, they're at number 9 right now. A lot of that depends on what other teams do, of course. They ended up 7-10 last year, and they had pick 11. But I feel like this is the most at peace I have been about the Titans in over a year. Probably since that night that they beat Green Bay on Thursday Night Football to get to 7-3 last year before completely, falling apart. This is probably the most at peace I have been about the Titans. And I think a large part of that is due to Will Levis. I think when you feel good about your quarterback and know that you can feel good about your quarterback going forward, that covers a lot. It's like if you were trying, I don't know why this is the best way I can think to describe it. If you were trying to decorate a bedroom, you would have a lot of stuff you needed to do, but the most important thing is that you have the bed in place. Once you have the bed in place, then you can throw in the TV, the nightstand, the wall decorations, a chair, whatever. But the most important thing is you got to have that bed in place if that bedroom is going to look nice and feel nice. The Titans have their bed. Once you have that quarterback situation handled, that's the biggest thing. And then, you have all this money to work with this offseason, a draft pick on the higher side of things. So I'm pretty at peace. Even if the Titans go out there and lay an egg on Sunday, I'm pretty at peace. What happened the other night at Miami, I think, was valuable, unbelievable experience for guys like Levis and Spears and Skoronski and some of those other guys. Luke says you can get 2 tickets by the field goal post on the 5th row for $180 for Sunday. Should I go? Absolutely, if you can afford it. Ashton says, I'm going to the game this weekend. Do you think we can beat the Texans this season? I absolutely think we can, and I think we should. Evan says, a lot of key players for Houston have been ruled out. In theory, this should be an easy win. I emphasize in theory. That's exactly what I said. The Titans should win this game, but there have been other games they should have won that they didn't. Luke said, do you want to go to the game? I would love to go to the game, but I'm going to be unable to. So this is the most at peace I've been about the Titans. I feel good, not about where they are right now this season. I still feel like there's a lot of holes on this roster, but in terms of the future, I like where we're at with Levis. I like where we're at with the cap space this offseason. I like where we're at in terms, I think this first draft by Rand Carthon has proven to be a pretty good one. I think Peter Skoronski has performed well. I think that Will Levis, if that turns out to be a franchise quarterback, then that pick alone makes this draft a success. Tyjae Spears, to me, that's a success. The guy looks like he's going to be a major contributor to this team for years to come. Josh Wiley, has shown potential. I'm worried about his durability. I feel like he's hurt a lot, but we'll see. Colton Dowell has been a good, special teams player. Jalen Duncan has contributed enough to where I don't feel like he'll be a starter going forward, but I feel like he can be a contributor. I think he can kind of be a sixth man, but who knows? He's got 4 games to go. Could he perform well enough in these final 4 games that they might feel good about sticking him somewhere on the O-line next year? Maybe. Ashton says, if Vrabel is 3-7 next season, do you think they'll fire him? So if the Titans started 3-7, theoretically that would be bad. Assuming they've got a big off season ahead, hopes are going to be at least a little bit high, I think, coming into next year. Yeah, I think that 3-7 would be cause for somebody to be fired at that point. Mayo Man 8 says, I think the Titans are going to be amazing next season. Man, I hope you're right. And I hope Mayo Man is a key reason why. So I do think going into next year, Vrabel will be in a position where it's like, okay, once you've had an off season with $100 million in cap space, you've had an opportunity to build this roster the way that you want it. I think at that point, a little more pressure now. A little more pressure on him to be successful. This season, maybe not that much pressure because they know the roster is still recovering from what John Robinson did. And once again, let me reiterate, John Robinson did a number on this roster. He did. I talked about how Rand Carthon's first draft for the Titans has proven to be a pretty good one, if not great. It should be studied how the Titans could have had so many horrible drafts in a row from 2020 to 2022. 3 straight, at least 2, but probably 3 straight drafts where they completely dookied themselves in the bed. I don't even know how it's possible. There should be documentaries done about those 3 consecutive drafts by the Titans. And when you consider how bad those drafts were, it's a miracle that the Titans aren't even worse than they are. They're 5-8. It's a miracle that they're not even worse than that, considering how bad these drafts were. Unbelievable. So what I want to do now, we're going to do the 32-1 Two-Tone Talk Power Rankings, and then I'm going to talk about what the Titans need this weekend if they want to make the by God playoffs. Because we're crazy on this podcast. We're freaking insane on this podcast. We're talking about the possibility of the Titans going to the playoffs. You want to know why? Because we're freaking nuts. That's why. Because we're out of our minds. We're going to talk about what the Titans would need to go to the playoffs. Because we're just crazy. We have no brain. But first, here's the Two-Tone Talk Power Rankings for this week. And let me say this. Let me cut the music off real quick. This was the hardest power ranking, Two-Tone Talk Power Rank that I have ever done. This was the most difficult rankings it's ever been. And let me tell you why. Because 7 of my top 10 teams from last week lost. So it's like, okay, so what do you do with them? How do you maneuver that around? You can't, normally you can look at a team in the top 10 and say, okay, they lost, so they'll be jumped by these few teams that won. But it was like literally numbers 4 through 10 all lost. So it's like, okay, so what do you do with that? Not to mention a lot of the teams at the bottom of the list last week won. Teams like the Giants, the Bears, the Titans, teams like that who won, the Jets who won. Okay, so what do you do with them? Like, very, very difficult power rankings this week. Took a lot of thought, and I'm even iffy on what I came up with, but here we go. Starting with the bottom 3, here's an easy one. You already know who's at number 32. It's the Carolina Panthers. They've been at number 32 for much of the year. They're horrible. Okay, at number 31, the bottom 3 was not hard. Number 31, the Washington Commanders. They were on a bye week this week, but, so they were 31 last week. They stay at 31 this week. And then at 30, for the first time this year, the Chargers come in at number 30. They make the bottom 3 for the first time this year. Holy cow, the Chargers. Let the Raiders, the Raiders who put up 0 points just a few days ago against Minnesota in a 3-0 loss, which Devontae Adams came out afterwards and said it was embarrassing. They follow that up, the Chargers do, by letting the Raiders put up 63 on them in prime time. Brandon Staley's already been fired. We knew he was going to be eventually anyway, but last night probably rushed it up. This was humiliating for the Chargers. And what a disappointing season this has been. Now we get into the 20s, and this is where it started to get difficult, man. This is where it started to get difficult because these were teams who were down here last week, and now they won. So what do you do? Number 29, I went with the Patriots. The Patriots move up a spot. They beat the Steelers on Thursday night. I still think the Patriots are horrible. I still think, the Patriots are in a position where there's no question it is in their best interest to lose, because they're in the Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison sweepstakes. The Patriots will be taking a quarterback, and they're probably going to have a new head coach. Crazy. Number 28, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals kind of stay where they were. They were off this week. Number 27, the Chicago Bears. I wanted to move the Bears up more because the Bears have been winning more than they've been losing. They got a great win over Detroit. So I wanted to move the Bears up more. But, what do you do? All these other teams won too. And I kind of worry the Bears, even though they won the other day, it still feels a little bit fluky to me. I still don't feel like they're going to be able to keep it up. But, the Bears, it's a talking point. They're a game out of a playoff spot right now. Unbelievable. Number 26, the good guys, the Titans. I really wanted to move the Titans. I only moved them up a spot. I wanted to move the Titans up a few spots after the other night. But, what are you going to do with all these other teams winning the way they're winning? The Titans land at 26. Number 25, the Saints. The Saints actually moved down a spot even though they won. But the team they beat was the Carolina Panthers. So, is that really considered a win, or is that just a week off? Number 24, Jets, Jets. The Jets are another team. On paper, I wanted to move them up more than I did because they beat the crap out of Houston. Nobody thought they would. But the Jets, they're 5-8. Like the Titans, they're on the outside looking in. But it looks like Aaron Rodgers is about to freaking come back and play. So who knows what could happen to the Jets. But the Jets land at 24. The Steelers land at 23. I think they were at 19 last week. The Steelers has been a disastrous 2 weeks for them. Disastrous. They lost to Arizona and then they lost to New England. Two of the worst teams in the league. The Steelers lost to them back-to-back. Awful. Awful. And let me tell you something, Titans fans. You better hope the Steelers get it together this week. You better hope the Steelers can get it together this week. And I'm going to tell you why here in a little bit. Number 22, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, tough loss for them. They drop a couple spots. Tough loss for the Falcons. Critical battle in the NFC South. Really felt like the Falcons could have taken control of that division, but they let Baker Mayfield and the Bucs go down and get a big drive to put the game away late. Tough. Falcons fall to 22. They got to get a new quarterback in Atlanta. Desmond Ridder just ain't that. He had one of his better games the other day, but still, some of those throws he missed, can't do it. Number 21, the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders, a tough team to try to decipher because the other day they lost to the Vikings 3-0, followed it up by putting up 63 on the Chargers last night. I don't know what to make of the Raiders. The roster they have, there's potential. I feel like they don't have their quarterback yet, so I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to make too much noise over the last month of this season. But the Raiders are a team, Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs and some of that talent they have there. The Raiders have some great pieces in place, but gotta have a quarterback in today's NFL, don't we know it? Let's go to the other side of the screen here. Number 20, the Giants. The Giants move up 8 spots. The Giants have won 3 games in a row. They're 5-8. They're 1 game out of a playoff spot. And I'll be doggone if this Tommy DeVito, what is going on? This Tommy DeVito, he was the laughingstock. The game where he came in, he threw for like 8 yards. My goodness, how things change quick. Now the Giants are 5-8. They've won a few games in a row. They won a huge game the other night. They beat the Packers in a game nobody picked them to win. And the Giants, look out now. What do they do? Regardless of whether the Giants make the playoffs or not, what do you do if this Tommy DeVito keeps playing well? You've paid Daniel Jones all this money. I can't think of any other team in the league that's going to be willing to take on Daniel Jones' contract. What do you do about this? Tommy DeVito. Number 19, the Indianapolis Colts. Colts got whooped by the Bengals, so they dropped a couple spots. Colts are 7-6. And, the Colts, better than I thought they would be, but they took one on the chin the other day. Number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. Speaking of taking them on the chin, the Seahawks have lost 4 games in a row. At one point, the Seahawks looked like a shoo-in to make the playoffs, and now they have totally fallen apart. And they're going to have to fight if they want to get in. Geno Smith is injured. They're banged up all over the place. But one key thing to think about, the Seahawks have just had a miserable schedule. They've had to play all the best teams. Took a whooping from the 49ers the other day, even though they competed well. Seahawks land at number 18. They continue to fall down the list. Number 17, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs climbing back up this list, man. I got to say, the Bucs, do you remember coming into this season, the Bucs were projected to be one of the worst teams in the league. Hey, they're 6-7. They're not great. They're not terrible, but they are much better than anybody gave them credit for. And if the playoffs started today, the Bucs would win the NFC South. Now, obviously, we got a long way to go. The Bucs are going to have their chance to prove it down the line, but the Bucs, for right now, exceeding expectations. Number 16, the Minnesota Vikings, and I hesitated to have the Vikings this high. They won 3-0 the other day. They've benched Josh Dobbs. Not only have they benched Josh Dobbs, he's on the 3rd string now. He's not even the backup. He's 3rd string. They've totally given up on him. So they're going with, Mullins is going to be their starting quarterback. Justin Jefferson's in and out. He keeps getting hurt. I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to keep it up. The injuries, too much. But any way you slice it, they're 7-6, and they are leading the wild card race in the NFC. Something's got to be said for that. I know they only won 3-0, but, a win is a win is a win. And they won despite the injuries, despite not looking good. The Vikings continue to win games. So you have to give them credit and keep them up here. Number 15, the Houston Texans. I had Houston at number 10 last week, but man, you get beat by the Jets 30-6. That'll drop you down the list right there. Understandable that the Texans had some injuries. C.J. Stroud suffered a concussion, but C.J. Stroud did play most of that game. He didn't get a concussion until, I think late in the third quarter. So, C.J. Stroud played most of that game, and he flat out struggled. That's fine. He's a rookie still, but, the Texans, the injuries have mounted up, and so they dropped down the list. Number 14, the Green Bay Packers. I had the Packers at number 9. They dropped to 14. I still think the Packers could potentially be a playoff team, but that was an unacceptable loss the other night. You should beat the Giants. You should beat the Giants on Monday Night Football. You got all this momentum. You should beat the Giants. They didn't. So the Packers are still a question mark. Number 13, the Rams. I actually keep the Rams in the exact same spot I had them in last week. Even though they lost, I think the Rams showed on Sunday like they can compete with some of the best. The Ravens are one of the best teams in the league, and the Rams had them against the ropes. The Rams had them, a couple times it looked like the Rams had them dead to rights, and then ultimately in overtime the Ravens pulled away with that punt return. But the Rams are good. They're playing good football right now. This Puka Nacua, this guy's good. Mix him with Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford. I'm telling you, would not surprise me, A, if the Rams sneak into the playoffs as a wild card, and B, if they upset somebody in these playoffs. I'm telling you, I like these Rams even though they lost. Number 12, the Cincinnati Bengals. I can't believe the Bengals are back this high on the list because weeks ago it felt like it was all doom and gloom. But this Jake Browning, he has come in. He's playing extremely well. They beat Jacksonville at home, or at Jacksonville, rather. They beat Jacksonville, and then they whoop up on Indianapolis at home. We need to thank Cincinnati. They're beating all of our AFC South foes, and we beat them. Hey, that's something we can talk crap about. We beat the Bengals with Joe Burrow. Y'all can't even beat him without him. Come on. Anyway, the Bengals have recovered. They're 7-6, and they find themselves back in the playoff hunt. I still think with the Joe Burrow injury, that takes them out of being Super Bowl contenders. But hey, the AFC is wide open right now. So the Bengals are at 12. Number 11, the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's right. The Jaguars fall out of the top 10. You want to know why? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars, at this point in time, could be key participants in the Dookie Poo Olympics. You want to know why? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars had it all in front of them. You got a home Monday Night Football playoff game against Jake Browning and the Bengals, and you lose. LOL. Then you come back the next week. You're playing the Cleveland Browns with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, who was sitting on his by God couch 2 weeks ago, eating Tostitos, and then he comes out here, throws for 300-something yards, and you lose to the Browns? And now you got Baltimore coming to town? Dude, I'm telling you what. Welcome to the Dookie Poo Olympics. First up, the Jacksonville Jaguars. 8-5, and I'm just saying, Jacksonville, 8-5, Indianapolis and Houston both 7-6. Baltimore coming to town in Jacksonville this Sunday night. They better put the foot on the gas in Jacksonville. With that being said, though, if Jacksonville finds a way to beat Baltimore Sunday, it will really go a long way in helping them feel better about themselves. But for right now, welcome to the Dookie Poo Olympics, Jacksonville Jaguars. We're into the top 10. Number 10, I had to put them back up here after a couple of weeks looking bad. I had to put the Cleveland Browns back in the top 10. How are we not talking about Kevin Stefanski as the coach of the year? How many different quarterbacks have the Browns had to go through? Nick Chubb, injured. They've had injuries all year, but yet they're 8-5, and they look primed for a playoff berth. I mean, I got to give credit where it's due. Kevin Stefanski has done an amazing job in Cleveland this year, and he deserves credit. 8-5. Kudos to the Browns. They're at number 10. Can you imagine if they went on a run with Joe Flacco? Number 9, the Detroit Lions. Lions fall down the list. Tough loss to the Chicago Bears. They got whooped. I'm telling you, man, I feel like Jared Goff belongs in the same category as Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins. No matter how good he plays, I will always view him as a guy who is just not going to be able to get you over the hump. He can get you to a division title. He can get you to the playoffs. But when it comes time at the end of the day, I will always view Jared Goff the same way I view Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins. Just can't quite get you over the hump. Good quarterback. Just can't quite get you over the hump. Number 8. We continue up the top 10 list. Number 8, the Buffalo Bills. Listen, I put the Bills back in the top 10. You know, the Bills, they've had a tough schedule. They played Philadelphia tough. Came up short. Then you go to Kansas City, you beat them. Hey, that gets you back in the top 10. The Bills are 7-6. And Miami has a brutal schedule to end the year. I'm talking like Baltimore, Dallas. Like, they've got a tough go. After what happened the other night, Miami better keep the foot on the gas because Buffalo is breathing down their neck. Number 7, I can't believe I got them this high, but I got the Denver Broncos at 7. Listen, I know the Broncos just lost last week. I think I dropped them to 11 after they lost to Houston last week. But any way you slice it, the Broncos have won, 6 of their last 7 games? Like, these Broncos are playing good football, and I think they are a shoo-in to grab one of those wild card spots in the AFC. And honestly, Kansas City better look out for these guys. Because the Chiefs are only 1 game ahead of them. And oh yeah, last time the Broncos and the Chiefs played each other, the Broncos beat the ever-loving crap out of the Chiefs. So, I mean, this AFC West, that ain't over. Chiefs are only 1 game ahead. And, I mean, if the Chiefs keep playing like they have been and the Broncos keep playing like they have been, I mean, I'll just tell you this. If the Broncos and Chiefs played each other this weekend, I'd pick the Broncos. With that being said, at number 6, I've got the Chiefs. I am going to give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt. Listen, you had a tough call on that Kadarius Toney offensive offsides. He was offsides. I talked about it the other day. But I get it. Things didn't go your way. There's been plenty of times where it did go your way. But listen, the Chiefs play the Patriots this week. What a great opportunity to turn things around for them. Now, if the Chiefs lose to the Patriots, panic button, okay? But for right now, the Chiefs will probably get it back on track with a win over the Patriots. They'll sort it out. They'll probably win out. Let's get into the top 5. And listen, at number 5, I've got the Dolphins. Now, you're sitting there and you're saying, how the heck can you have the Dolphins at 5? They didn't move. The Dolphins were at 5 last week, and I'm keeping them at 5 this week. You're sitting there saying, how the heck can the Dolphins stay up there that high after what they did against Tennessee the other night? Here's why. I told you earlier, nearly everybody in this top 10 lost. So I can only move teams like the Bills and the Broncos up so far. I keep the Dolphins at 5 because you know what? I will give them the benefit of the doubt. They were without their most effective player for most of the game in Tyreek Hill. I will give them that. I will give them that they had this game and then they totally melted down in the last 4 minutes. It's unacceptable. It's horrible. But, I mean, it was a freak thing. So for that reason, I guess I will keep the Dolphins at 5. And I'm going to keep the Philadelphia Eagles at number 4 in spite of the fact that they got mauled by the Cowboys because what else you going to do? I mean, like, you can't, I've got 3 teams right here, the Eagles, Dolphins, and Chiefs, who all took bad losses I don't know. So I just keep the Eagles at 4 because I don't know what else to do. But I do want to talk about the Eagles for a second because I have to. The Philadelphia Eagles have issues right now, and I'm sorry, but I think it's hilarious. Because when Kevin Byard got there, A.J. Brown told him, "You're a winner now. We do things different around here." Did you see what drill the Philadelphia Eagles were doing in practice yesterday? It was on Twitter. They've been turning the ball over so much that they're having to do a drill where they just fall to the ground with the ball and don't fumble. Like, there's literally footage of all of the Eagles' offensive skill players just standing there with the ball and falling down, and then getting back up, falling down again. That's the drill. We do things different here. And I hate the Cowboys. But A.J. Brown came out there talking that crap to Stephon Gilmore, calling him old and all that stuff. How'd it work out, bud? What did A.J. say last week after they lost or whatever? He was like, "Oh, you gonna see Sunday. You gonna see." Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? You just played the other threats in the NFC, the 49ers and the Cowboys. How'd it work out for you, bud? Got your butt kicked both times. Stay humble, man. Top 3, this was easy. Number 3, the Ravens. The team that you would absolutely trust the most in the AFC right now. Easy. You can't trust Kansas City right now. You can't trust Jacksonville. Can't trust whatever the other division is, Miami. You can't trust them. Honestly, you'd be more inclined to trust some of these wild card teams like Denver and Buffalo right now and Cleveland than you would those other teams. But Baltimore, you know, they have it together enough right now. That's the team that you would look at in the AFC and say, that's my pick. That's the one I'm most confident in right now. Number 2, I'm sticking with the Dallas Cowboys at number 2. They looked awesome the other night. I hate the Cowboys, but they looked awesome. CeeDee Lamb is great. Dak is playing like an MVP. This defense looks nasty. They're going to be tough to beat. But yet, at number 1, I'm going to keep the San Francisco 49ers. I still feel like the 49ers are the most complete team in the NFL. Just with all of those weapons. I mean, you look at the Cowboys, it's like, okay, they got CeeDee Lamb, and he's great. But, like, the 49ers, you just got Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I mean, there's just weapons all over the place. Brock Purdy also playing like an MVP candidate. So that is the way the cookie crumbles with the 32-1 power rankings this week. Now, let's talk about this weekend. What do the Titans need to happen this weekend to help them inch closer to the playoffs? Why are we talking about this? Because we're freaking nuts. We're insane. We're out of our minds. That's why we're talking about this. So here's what you need to watch. First of all, these Saturday games, we'll call this, hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sasquatch in the YouTube chat who says, "I usually listen to your podcast on Spotify. Just want to say I love the podcast." Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. The podcast is available on Spotify and SoundCloud for anybody who would like to listen while you're, working out or if you're at work or commuting in the car or whatever. Charlie says if we win out, we will get that last spot and shock the world. Well, hold on. Let's call this the Titans' Christmas wish list for this weekend. First of all, let's talk about the division. For the division, it's simple. Titans over Texans, obviously. You need the Ravens to beat the Jaguars Sunday night, which I think could very well happen. I mean, I think most people will probably pick Baltimore to win that game, and that worries me because that's usually when things go wrong. But Ravens need to beat the Jags. I know it hurts our hearts, Titans fans, to have to root for the Ravens, but here we are. And last but not least, this is the one that really worries me. You need the Steelers to beat the Colts on Saturday, tomorrow. You really need that to happen, and I'm worried because the Steelers have looked bad. They have lost back-to-back games to the Cardinals and the Patriots. And the games in Indianapolis, the Colts are coming off of a tough loss. I'm going to watch, and I'm going to root hard for the Steelers tomorrow, but I have my doubts. But that's what you need. That's your Christmas wish list. Now, in terms of this wild card race, it would truly be wild if the Titans were to get a wild card spot. But just in case you're watching out for that, tomorrow you would need to root for the Vikings to defeat the Bengals. You would need to root for the Lions to beat the Broncos tomorrow. And then on Sunday, you would need to root for the Cowboys to defeat the Bills. And it would also help if the Bears would beat the Browns. That would also be good too. Now, here's the thing. The Titans have a pulse. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I just think what they need from other teams. I mean, they essentially need the Colts to go at best 1-3 over these last 4 games. And I can't help but think the Colts are going to get a couple more wins out of their last 4 games. You need the Jags to at best go 1-3 with one of those 3 losses coming to the Titans. I don't know. I mean, the Jags got to play Carolina. They're going to beat them, so that needs to be their one win the rest of the way. I don't know, but at least it gives you reason to watch and care, So let's make picks. There is a triple header tomorrow in the NFL. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a little Saturday football. Let's make picks. As I said, you need the Vikings to beat the Bengals tomorrow, and I just don't think they're going to. They put up 3 points last week. They've got Nick Mullins. The game's in Cincinnati. The Bengals have been rolling. I think the Bengals are going to win this game. Steelers-Colts, man, I would love for the Steelers to come in and beat them. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Colts are going to beat the Steelers. Broncos and Lions, the Lions need this one. And so I think because they're kind of desperate, I am going to go with the Detroit Lions to win this game. Let's go to Sunday, Jets-Dolphins. Now, I am picking the Dolphins to win this game. But this is a very, very important game for the Dolphins. First of all, because of what happened the other night against Tennessee. But also because their last 3 games are brutal. Baltimore, Dallas, Buffalo. Awful stretch to end the season. This is the easiest game the Dolphins have left. And if something happens, remember, these Jets just beat the Texans 30-6 last week. If something happens, and I don't know what Tyreek Hill, I don't know how much he's going to be able to play, but if something happens and you slip up and lose this game, you are in serious danger of losing out and possibly missing the playoffs altogether if you're Miami. Like, that's a real possibility. I am picking the Dolphins to win this game, but their backs are against the wall here. Bucks, Packers, very important game in the NFC. Packers staying afloat in that wild card race. Bucks are in a 3-way tie at the top of their division. The game's in Green Bay. I am picking the Packers in a close one. I think the Packers figure out a way to win at home. Giants, Saints, yet again, another game with serious playoff implications. The Giants are 1 game out of a wild card spot. The Saints are in a 3-way tie. Man, I'm going with the Giants. I'm going with Tommy DeVito to win this game. I'm going with the Giants over the Saints. Can't believe it, but I'm doing it. Falcons, Panthers. I'm going with the Falcons. How are the Falcons only a 3-point favorite in this game? Have these odds people, have they watched the Panthers play? I'm going with the Falcons. If the Falcons, this is what if you're Atlanta, you're in a 3-way tie at the top of the division. If you lose this, you start looking at mock drafts. Okay. Bears, Browns, interesting game here. Bears have fought back into the wild card race. Browns got that great defense. They're at home. I'm going to have to go with the Browns. I think Flacco can continue to do. I think Justin Fields is going to struggle against this Browns defense. I think it'll be low scoring, like 12-6, one of those ugly kind of games, but I'm going with the Browns. Chiefs, Patriots, in New England. Let's say the Chiefs just get back on track and get a win here. 49ers, Cardinals. I think the 49ers are going to keep this thing rolling, beat Arizona. Commanders, Rams. I think the Rams will get back on track. I think this is a good opportunity for the Rams to recover from that loss to the Ravens last week. Give me the Rams over the Commanders. Cowboys, Bills. In Buffalo. I think this is going to be the game of the day. I think it's going to come down to the end, and I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Bills. Close one, though. Close one. Sunday night, Ravens, Jags. I'm rooting for Baltimore. And I think Baltimore will win. I think the Ravens will beat the Jags. Monday night, it's the Eagles and the Seahawks. I think the Eagles will get the rebound win, but my goodness, I would love to see the Seahawks win. Oh, man. And last but not least, Texans, Titans. As I said earlier, I think the Titans should win this game. They should win. Will they? Well, who knows? I'm going to predict Tennessee gets the win. Titans 26, Texans 20. And the Titans do what they haven't been able to do all year, and that is win 2 games in a row in the Oiler throwbacks. Give me Titans 26, Texans 20. I'll be back Monday on the Two Tone Talk podcast. And the schedule may look a little different next week because Christmas and everything, but I will be back Monday on Two Tone Talk to talk about whatever happens over the weekend. Keep in touch with me on Twitter, twotone_podcast. I appreciate everybody for watching today. This is the Two Tone Talk by God Pod, where we're staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy you some football. Tighten up. Bye, everybody.
Whoever you wanna be, feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya, feels like it's picking on me, but trying to please everybody, that ain't no way to be.